All right, this week we are diving into a game that has so much history, so much drama, it honestly feels like something straight out of a Hollywood script. It's a real story of what ifs, a fallen hero, and just maybe a shot at redemption.
And it all centers around one guy, Carson Wentz. You remember him, the former number 2 overall pick, the quarterback that Philadelphia really thought was going to be the face of their franchise for like a decade.
But then, in 2017, a catastrophic knee injury just ends his MVP-caliber season. And in this wild twist of fate, it was his absence that actually opened the door for a backup to lead the Eagles to their first and only Super Bowl win.
So, after years of bouncing around the league, guess what? He's back. He's starting for the other team, and he's got a chance to stare down the very organization that decided to move on without him.
This is why this Week 7 matchup is being called the Carson Wentz Bowl. And you know what? It absolutely deserves that name. This isn't just about football strategy, it's a story of second chances and, let's be honest, a pure shot at revenge.
And that really brings us to the core question here. For Carson Wentz, is this his big chance to rewrite a really painful chapter of his past? I mean, the personal stakes for him, they couldn't be any higher.
Look, after stops with the Commanders, the Rams, and the Chiefs, Wentz's career was kind of in limbo. But now, with Minnesota starter McCarthy on the shelf, Wentz has stepped in and, well, he's steadied the ship. He's led the Vikings to a 2-1 record in his 3 starts, throwing for over 750 yards and 5 touchdowns. So he's not just a placeholder, he's actually playing really well.
Now, what makes this whole matchup so fascinating is this incredible sense of déjà vu. Seriously, this situation the Vikings are in right now is a direct echo of the Eagles' most famous season ever. This timeline just perfectly captures the roller coaster that was his career in Philly. Drafted to be the savior, an almost MVP, then the devastating injury, getting traded away, a really tough loss against his old team in 2022, and now, this, the ultimate revenge game. It's almost unbelievable, but this exact scenario has played out before. A promising team with a young, injured quarterback has to turn to a veteran backup to keep their championship dreams alive. That is precisely what happened to the Eagles back in 2017. And here is the staggering irony of it all. It was Wentz's injury that let his backup Nick Foles go on that legendary run, which was capped by a dominant 38-7 win in the NFC Championship against the very team Wentz now leads, the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, you just can't make this stuff up. All right, with all that narrative drama set, let's see how these two teams actually compare on the field. Let's dig into the tail of the tape.
You know, at a quick glance, they look incredibly similar. Scoring is almost identical, and the Vikings actually have a little bit of an edge in total yards. But the key difference here is ball security. Look at this. The Vikings defense gets more sacks and takeaways, but their turnover differential is -2, while the Eagles are +2. It's simple. One team is opportunistic, and the other is just careless.
But the biggest statistical mismatch, and this is a big one, is right here, inside the 20-yard line. The Eagles are converting a mind-boggling 87.5% of their red zone trips into touchdowns. To put that in perspective, that's the best mark in the league through 6 games since the year 2000. That level of efficiency is an absolute game-changing weapon.
The betting markets also paint a really clear picture of these two quarterbacks. Odds makers expect more passing yards from Wentz, but they also see him as a literal coin flip to throw an interception. Now, for Jalen Hurts, the expectation is more modest passing numbers, but he's expected to do significant damage with his legs, and, most importantly, he has a much higher probability of protecting the football.
Okay, so we've got the history, we have the stats. Let's boil it all down to the key factors that are probably going to decide who walks away with a win here.
Injuries are always a factor, right? And the big one here is on the Vikings side. They're going to be missing their key pass rusher, Andrew Van Ginkel. For an Eagles offensive line that's getting healthier, his absence is a major blow and could give Jalen Hurts a much cleaner pocket to work from.
So, taking all of this into account, the odds makers have made the visiting Philadelphia Eagles slight favorites, giving them a 2.5-point edge on the road.
But get this, it gets even tighter. A computer model that simulated this game 10,000 times projects an Eagles victory by the slimmest of margins, a single point. This one is expected to go right down to the wire.
So as we head into Sunday, it's crystal clear this is not just another game on the schedule. For both franchises, and especially for one player, this is a pivotal moment in their season and, frankly, his career. When it comes down to it, everyone is playing for something huge.
The Eagles need to stop the bleeding from a 2-game skid. The Vikings need to prove they belong in the playoff conversation. And Carson Wentz, he has a chance to change the entire trajectory of his career with one great game against the team that cast him aside.
Which really just leaves us with one final thought. For Carson Wentz, is this game the beginning of an unbelievable comeback story, a brand new chapter where he proves he's a starting quarterback in this league? Or is this simply the final page on his time as a franchise guy, a last gasp against the team that defined his career for better and for worse? I guess we're all going to find out on Sunday.